Hi, my name is BC Hoffman.
And I'm Judith Jones.
And today we are doing Recipe War Brownie style.
I will be doing Matt Lewis's and Martha Stewart's version of their deep, dark brownies.
And I'm going to be doing Ina Garten's outrageous brownies.
And Matt is going to share a very special secret, which I am dying to learn. What's your secret, Matt?
All right, well today my secret is the secret to making a rich, fudgy brownie. A little bit cakey, a little bit fudgy, but somewhere in between. And what we've already done, just so you guys can see this right here, in this pan I've melted 1 cup of butter and 3/4 cup teaspoons of the instant espresso powder. The instant espresso powder is kind of give it that really nice cut the sweetness of the sugar.
I think this is the most popular thing I've ever made at Barefoot Contessa, and we sell like 1,000 of them a week. Okay, 6 eggs, and then because chocolate is really enhanced by the flavor of coffee, I put in 3 tablespoons of coffee granules. Not prepared coffee, but instant coffee granules. For lots of flavor, 2 tablespoons of good vanilla. And 2 1/4 cups of sugar. This makes a lot of brownies.
All right, well, I think what I'll do first is we preheated our oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And just to start, I am going to butter my baking dish, like this. I butter it on the bottom. And then we're gonna add some parchment paper, and that's just gonna help, you know, with the ease of lifting the brownies out of there at the end.
Now, mine actually has the flour on top of the butter, just so that way it doesn't stick, but you can totally use cocoa powder at home, so that way you don't have that white, flaky, crummy looking, almost confectioner sugar appearance on your brownies, which I really like using instead, but again, we're just sticking to the recipe, not doing our own thing.
All right, so I'm putting my parchment paper on there, and we're just gonna butter that up too.
Make sure you don't get it on the sides. You just want it on the bottom, because if you put it on the sides, then it's not gonna rise properly, and you want these brownies to rise.
So we'll set that aside, and we'll work on our brownie mixture. So, on a heat, I'm gonna add my 1 stick of butter into the pan. And we're gonna add espresso. So espresso enhances the flavor of the chocolate. So once that's melted, I will add that in there, and it's just gonna all meld together.
I'm using instant granules in mine, and like you said, it totally enhances and complements the chocolate, but also cuts back on the sweetness of the sugar. I actually have my hot water just starting to simmer right now, and I am going to take a large bowl. I'm gonna throw in 1 pound. 1 pound of butter. Boom, right in there. Very little flour. It's mostly all butter and chocolate. And I've got 1 pound of chocolate chips. I've got a little extra just for reserve so I can throw them in later. But I'm gonna throw in 1 pound of semi-sweet chocolate chips. So I'm saving these actually right here for adding in with my walnuts, so that way we have nice texture. And just in case it's not chocolatey enough, we'll have even more. And then I have unsweetened chocolate right here. I've got 6 ounces. And you really don't need to cut it up, because you're just gonna melt this right over the simmering water. But I am going to just chop it up very easily. If you guys wanna take a quick look, each one of these packets is 1 ounce of chocolate. And we're just gonna do 3 quick cuts, 3 to 4 cuts on it. So it's not super thin, but that way it just melts that much quicker. And we're gonna throw that in there. And I'm using a bread knife, just in case you're wondering at home why, because it makes the technique of cutting this so much easier.
Looks good. Well, my espresso and butter have melted down here. It smells very, very, very good. And I'm, see, smell that? And I'm gonna now add in my chocolate chips. So there's 3/4 cups of chocolate chips, and I'm gonna stir that in while it's still warm on the heat. So the idea is, with these brownies, is we're gonna do it all by hand. There's gonna be no whisk, no processor, blender, anything like that. The idea is we want them nice and smooth by hand.
So again, you wanna definitely use a wooden spoon or a spatula instead of a whisk. I can't stress that enough. A lot of times you'll be like, well, why was my brownie so tough? I'll tell you why. You overmixed it. You shouldn't have used a whisk. At home, that's just a little tidbit, guys. I'm not stressing the importance of it enough, but it's definitely vital.
That's true. When you use a whisk, you're gonna get more of a cakey brownie rather than a fudgy brownie, which was what we're both going for.
Exactly. Now, the only time I do want to use a whisk, rewind, is to actually stir in right now the butter, the chocolate, and just make it a nice, smooth consistency. It's the only time you're gonna use a whisk, unless you're whisking to sift the flour. Other than that, you aren't gonna use a whisk at all.
So as you can see here, my chocolate has melted in with that butter and coffee, and that looks amazing. So now it's time to add in the sugar, but I'm actually just gonna do it in this glass bowl so you can all see. And make sure to add in the sugar while it's still warm, so it melts in nicely and we get a smooth mixture, because we want a smooth batter. That's key to the brownies. In goes our sugars. And we'll be stirring it with the spatula. And we're just gonna try and get that smooth, so we're gonna stir it until all the granules and clumps have smoothed out.
So this may take about 5 minutes at the most to actually melt everything up. And then as soon as it's done melting, we're just gonna take it off and we're gonna let it cool to room temperature.
So my sugar is melted into my chocolate butter mixture, looking good. So now it's time to add in the eggs. And we're not gonna whisk the eggs, we're just gonna put them in one by one and then give them a stir. So again, the idea is that we don't wanna whisk, we just wanna get it smooth with our spatula.
And I have just finished making my amazing, wonderful melted chocolate and butter right there. I'm just gonna put this to the side, let it get nice and room temperature. And what we're gonna now do is we're gonna take a bowl and throw in our eggs. We've got 6 extra large eggs I'm gonna put in there, 2 1/4 cups sugar, got 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and 3 tablespoons of my coffee granules. We're just gonna beat that up. So again, I'm whisking to beat my eggs, to mix my coffee granules, to use the vanilla extract in there. And you don't have to clean the whisk. It's all going in the same spot, besides our bellies eventually. And I'm just gonna throw all that in, mix that bad boy up.
And it's time to add in the vanilla. So we'll add that in and give that a stir. Now I can add in the rest of my chocolate chips, and make sure to use nice, dark, good quality chocolate. It's all about the quality of the chocolate for your brownies, as Matt Lewis says in his video. So, in they go.
So I retract. I know I said don't use a whisk, and here I am using a whisk 2 times, and yet I'm gonna get a 3rd time for sifting my flour. But that's it. When I say don't use a whisk, I mean when you're actually incorporating your chocolate and your ingredients that you're adding to the brownie.
I do like that you're using walnuts. Mine is just double chocolate chip. So it's very, very chocolatey, but rich and fudgy. It's nice. But I do like a little nut in my brownie. I do. All right, so once we've got that done, let's work on our dry ingredients. So the dry goes into the wet. So we're gonna sieve our flour, our very good quality cocoa powder, and put in a little bit of salt in there too, into the wet ingredients. So let me just give that a few more stirs and get it as we want it. Looking good.
So I've got my 1 cup of flour right here. I'm gonna incorporate my 1 tablespoon of baking powder, throw that right in there. And I'm also going to take my 1 tablespoon of salt, throw that in there. And you're literally just gonna sift that. The reason why you're sifting your flour is to ensure that there's absolutely positively no additions that you're adding to your brownie mixture that would in turn not be something you want in there.
It also aerates the whole thing. So we've got that in there, and I'm just gonna add the salt because it doesn't go through my sieve. Put the salt in there. And so now, very important, we are going to stir with our spatula and get all that flour mixed in. So this could take a little time, but it's much better, obviously, again, than whisking it. So we're gonna do that until we get a nice, smooth mixture.
I'm ready to mix everything. Let's start doing this, because I'm behind right now. I gotta catch up.
Okay.
So right now I'm adding into my chocolate the eggs, the vanilla, the coffee granules that I beat separately, because it's gotten to a room temperature, so I'm just going to give that a nice folding in, mix it in. Room temperature is important because A, you aren't gonna be cooking up your eggs, and B, and most importantly, because that's what the recipe calls for. And now I'm going to fold in my flour and my baking powder and my salt. So another tip that you can do at home, viewers, is what they suggest is if you have a little extra flour in there, it's a good sign because that means that you aren't over mixing your brownies. So that's definitely key right there.
I was gonna say that.
Oh,
my
beat you to the
goodness.
punch.
That looks beautiful. Smooth, just as we want it. So we can add that now to our baking dish. Okay, my muscles have got such a workout right now, so I'm gonna stop. Oh my goodness, it's like, well, it's good because you gotta work out before you eat all these lovely calories. So in it goes into, I can get it out. Ooh, that's gonna be a nice, rich, fudgy brownie. Look at that. Hope you washed your hands.
Of course I washed my hands, but now I gotta wash them again.
Okay.
But it was totally worth it.
Now we're just gonna flatten it out with your spatula and get it nice and smooth on the top.
So, what I'm going to do now, guys, extra chocolate chips, walnuts, put them all together. And what do you got? Chocolate chips and walnuts. The reason why you're putting chocolate chips and walnuts together with the flour is so that way the chocolate chips and the walnuts don't just sink to the bottom of your pan. And this is gonna actually let them stay kind of the top / in the middle and not go all the way to the bottom. So we're just gonna kind of mix this up. Get your hand up in there. Oh.
And mine's not ready to go into the oven, so 325 for about 28 to 30 minutes. But you know, every oven is different, so make sure you check on it every 10 minutes to see how it's doing. So in the oven it goes, and I'll wait for this guy.
Mine's actually going in the oven for about 35 minutes at 350. And here's the thing. Every single oven that you have at home or at your friend's house or in a restaurant is gonna be slightly different. So check on your brownies every 10 minutes because if you overbake those brownies, there's nothing that's gonna save them. You're just gonna have burned, tough brownies. Okay, so I've mixed everything up. I've got my dry ingredients in there, and now I'm ready to transfer them to the pan. Now again, this is a lot of brownie mixture right here, and I'm not putting it all in there. So we're just gonna put that in, and then you can either use a spatula or by all means you can tap it so it's nice and flat and even. And I'm just gonna go, I'd say about a little over halfway up, so that way it can rise a little bit. So I'm just gonna wrap this real quick. And I'm ready to go in the oven. Again, you can put whatever you want into the brownie. I'm going in the oven, 350, 35 minutes, check every 10 minutes. And before I actually take them out, about halfway through, I'd say 15 minutes in, you're gonna wrap it on the actual rack or wherever after you've checked them, just to ensure that the air on the bottom of the pan comes out and you get a nice fluffiness and fudginess. Otherwise, the air is gonna sit in the bottom. You don't want that. So our brownies are out of the oven, they've cooled down, we've cut them, and we are ready to taste test these bad boys right now.
Well, mine look pretty good, and yours look good too, but they didn't kind of hold up very well.
Unfortunately, too much chocolate, too much butter. The consistency just didn't work, and it tastes great, I'm sure of it. It just didn't hold together as well as one would have hoped.
Well, let's see.
Let's do it.
Nice and fudgy, would you like that one?
I'm going for a whole one right here.
Okay, I'm gonna do a little. As I say, just the right amount of fudginess, and I love that cakiness, the cakiness on the top. Really nice texture, and really good flavor. The chocolate, we used some good chocolate. You can definitely taste that. Really, all in all, these are good brownies.
I feel like I'm biting right into fudge right here. That's delicious.
This is like fudge, really.
Okay, let's go for.
Okay.
Let's go for Ina's.
I do like that you had the walnuts. Nice addition, of course. It's a little sweeter than mine, and I don't quite get that richness in the flavor. And obviously, yes, pretty crumbly. You know, it's not bad, but it's not the best. Let's just say that.
In a Garden, unfortunately, I think this goes without even taking a second guess. A little crummy on the brownies. Goes to show that Martha Stewart's are the winner.
Matt Lewis and Martha Stewart win this one this time. There you go.
That being said, my name is BC Hoffman.
And I am Judith Jones.
Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our channel. You keep watching, and we'll keep cooking.
And eating.